We will now reconvene our regular meeting and begin with our invocation and Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Rood?
Yes, thank you if you care to join me. Dear God, we thank you for the people gathered here tonight. We thank you for our board and their vision, their purpose and commitment to work for the benefit of children in Northwest ISD. We ask through the deliberations of this meeting tonight that we might have the wisdom to make decisions that guide our students' learning and the insight to consider the many needs of Northwest ISD and its students. We ask for safe passage for each person present as they make their way home tonight, and we ask your blessings on these proceedings. Amen. Well, it is my pleasure tonight to introduce students to you who will lead us in our pledges. They are from Thompson Elementary, and they are here with their principal, Dr. Leanne Romer. And where are you? There you are. We're so glad to see you here tonight. So Dr. Romer is here with her students. Let me begin by introducing Tori Cummings. And Tori, if you'd like to step forward and make your way to the podium. Tori is a 5th grade student at Thompson. She is the daughter of Matthew and Shelley Pugh. She enjoys science and history. I like history because I get to learn about what our ancestors did for our country. I like to work with different chemicals and see their reactions in science. In her free time, she enjoys baseball and soccer. I'm growing up in a baseball family, and I'm getting to learn all the positions. Soccer is a fun, interactive sport that I like to do on the weekends, and it keeps me in good shape. Life skills. Her principal nominates her, saying Tori is a good sport with a great sense of humor. She's extremely helpful and dependable with teachers and fellow students. When a new student comes to JCT, she's the first one to take them under her wing. Thank you for being here tonight. With her is Slayton Bruner, and Slayton is a 4th grade student at Thompson. He is the son of Amanda and Danny Bruner. There he is. He writes that he's really good at reading. I read on a 7th grade level, and I love math because it gives me a challenge. So math and reading are his favorite subjects. And his free time, he enjoys playing soccer and enjoying time with his younger sister, Harper. And his principal writes about Slayton. And Slayton decided JCT should have a debate team. He didn't wait around for someone else to start one. He started one himself. This is just one example of his motivation and initiative. Thank you for being here, Slayton. Also tonight we have Trevin Austin Izeli. Am I pronounced Izel? Help me out. Izel? Thank you. Very good. I need a yes. He's a 4th grade student. He is the son of Alicia and Jontu Austin Izel. He enjoys math and writing. Math is fun because you can do it with your friends. Writing is great because you can write your own stories. He enjoys baseball. He says he's been playing since he was little, indeed grown up. His parent and his brother taught him. His principal writes that Trevin is one of our morning car drop-off greeters, and boy, does he really get everyone's day started with a smile. He truly represents JCT's slogan, we never, never, never give up, every day. And then rounding out our group tonight is Kinley McLean. She is a 4th grade student and the daughter of Nicholas and Carolyn McLean. She enjoys reading and math. She says, I like writing because I get to use my imagination. I like to read. I like numbers. And in her free time, she enjoys basketball, learning, soccer, and volleyball. And the reason I like basketball and soccer is because I like to run. And you would do a lot in both of those sports. Her principal writes about her, Kinley's work ethic and perseverance really shine through this year as JCT's Spelling Bee representative. Her dedication is second only to her kindness and friendship for others. Thank you so much for being here tonight, students. Thank you, parents, for joining, bringing them and allowing them to help us get our meeting started. If you would, please lead us in our pledge first to the flag of the United States and then to the Texas flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Excellent job. Thank you so much. And if you would please wait just one moment, our board president, Mr. Wright, is bringing you a small gift to say thank you for being here tonight. We do appreciate you. Parents and siblings, we thank you for being here with your student tonight.
That will bring us to item 7, recognitions. Dr. Rue?
Yes, Mrs. Nail is making her way to the podium to introduce those recognitions tonight. As you can see, we have several that we are really pleased to share with the board.
Yes, I'd like to begin by asking Dr. Rue and President Wright to come forward to assist with the recognition. It's an honor this evening that we recognize the Northwest ISD Communications Department, the Texas School Public Relations Association, known as TSPRA. Members from across the state received honors from the association for their outstanding work in education, communication, earning Gold Star, Silver Star, Bronze Star, Best Category, Certificate of Merit, Crystal Commendations, and Platinum Awards. The awards were announced at the TSPRA Annual Star Awards celebration held in February. This was held in Texas during the association's 53rd annual conference. There are 45 main categories covering various media such as newsletters, programs, posters, reports, image, identity packages, photography, writing, graphics, video, electronic presentations, mobile apps, campaigns, and websites. I'd like to recognize this evening Emily Conklin, Director of Communications. Emily received a Silver Star Award for the Northwest News and the Source newsletter. Also like to recognize Rachel Bobbitt, NISD Communications and Multimedia Specialist, who received Silver Star Awards for a photo of a Northwest High School dazzler and a photo of Seven Hills student. And then Emily and Rachel both received Silver Star Awards for the Northwest ISD Annual Report and the Communications Resource Guide. I'd also like to recognize Phil Beckman, Partners in Education Specialist, and Rachel Bobbitt for receiving a Silver Star Award for the Partners in Education Annual Report. And Emily Conklin and Rachel Bobbitt for receiving a Bronze Award for the Points of Pride. So we're very proud of this group. We have an outstanding communications department. Now I'd like to ask Dr. Gary Gant, Assistant Superintendent for Administration, to join Dr. Rue and Mr. Wright. At this time, we'll be recognizing the Crime Stoppers Awards. And as I call your name in the script, if you will please come forward. Tonight, we are recognizing Northwest ISD Crime Stoppers Program. The NISD Crime Stoppers attended the 21st Annual Campus Crime Stoppers Conference that was recently held in Odessa, Texas. The NISD Crime Stoppers were honored and received the following awards. The 2015-16 Productivity Award, which is the greatest dollar recovery, most cases cleared for a student population of 15,001 to 25,000. And this is the third consecutive year that our Crime Stoppers group has won this award. And this was presented to students Lily Field from Northwest High School, Jacob James from Northwest High School, and Alex Furman from Byron Nelson High School. SRO officers, Mary Martin and Robert Mastrapiro. and NISD Safety and Security Coordinator Mike Conklin. Crime Stoppers also received the television competition for 2015-16 for Best Special Production Public Service Announcement. This video was a collaboration effort by many, as you will hear in just a moment. Wilson Middle School took the lead under the direction of Brandy Russell and Mike Blankenship. Northwest High School AMAT provided the final production edits, and the people responsible for making the video a great success are Brandy Russell, organizer, storyboard, studio reporter, and he is teacher at Medlin Middle School. Mike Blankenship, who is principal at Wilson Middle School, for the Swoop In team. Deputy Aaron Scott for the Swoop In team and studio reporter, and I don't believe Deputy Scott's with us this evening. Malik Moore, security team at Northwest High School, student. Abby Wilson, student director and camera at Eaton High School. McKinley Griffin at security team at Eaton High School. Brock Weber at head of security team at Eaton High School. Miley Odell, security team at Northwest High School. Sydney Hughes, security team at Eaton High School. Michael Payton-Jean for the Star, Cherub, and the Package from Wilson Middle School. Matthew Chambers for the Disruptor at Wilson Middle School. And Maylee Gray, Northwest High School editor. And Josh Gaston, AMAT instructor voiceover. I don't believe he was able to be with us this evening, or Jeremy Rawl, AMAT facilitator. So this is an outstanding group of people who came together to do great things for our Crime Stoppers program. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Rob Thornell, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and Dr. Jennifer Alexander, Executive Director of Student Services, to come forward. We have the privilege this evening of recognizing our Latino Family Literacy Project. And the Latino Family Literacy Project recognition is a family reading program for the entire family. It uses books that are appropriate reading levels for grades 1 through 4, depending on the literacy levels of the student. It teaches parents the importance of establishing a family reading routine with their children, how to share the book. It helps both parents and school-age children learn English vocabulary, verbs, grammar, and conversation. It teaches parents the skills they need to share literature and to be involved in the school-going process with their children. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Gina Lee, our Director of Student Services.
Thank you, Ms. Nels. I just want to go ahead and take a moment before we do our parent recognitions and do recognize the staff that participated to make this program possible for our families that chose to participate. We had Roanoke staff, if you'll stand, you're here with us, and Prairie View staff. This program is hosted at both of our bilingual campuses here in the district, and they do a 10-week program with the families, looking at different books and taking those home to study literacy activities together as a family. This particular group that's here with us tonight has completed 2 semesters, so they've completed 20 weeks in all of their study, and this is their final fiesta. So we want to give a shout out to thank you for participating in both semesters and making this a really important thing within your family. So thank you, families. I'll invite the principals to come up and make the recognitions at this time. Ms. King, and we have Ms. Hughes. Sorry, Ms. Wallace is not here with us tonight due to a loss in her family. So Ms. Hughes is here. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Gina. From Roanoke Elementary, and as I call your name, if you'll come up and shake hands, Adriana Alvarez. Salvador Colonico. Sofia Fernandez. And not able to be with us tonight, but we still want to congratulate these graduates, Beatrice Martinez and Elizabeth Vargas.
And from Prairie View Elementary, Jeanette Chavarin. Rebecca Monroy. And Rosalia Ruiz. And also participating, but not with us tonight, Virginia Dominguez and Carmen Oviedo.
Okay, and one final recognition for our Latino Family Literacy Project. We want to honor our partner in education who helped us with the fiesta tonight by providing our dinner and our desserts for our families. So we want to recognize Lustig and Young, and we have Ronna Stevens here tonight. If she'll come up, we'll get a picture with her too.
Now I'd like to introduce Jerry Cantu. He is our Communication and Community Engagement Coordinator.
Thank you, Jerry. Tonight we're pleased to recognize 2 new business partners and a returning business partner as well. Tonight, joining us first is Mr. Andre Johnson, Center Manager for the Alliance Opportunity Center. As part of Workforce Solutions for Tarrant County, the AOC will give students the opportunity to participate in the upcoming job fair at Texas Motor Speedway on April 20th. Students from Eaton, Steele, Byron Nelson, and Northwest High Schools will have the chance to earn Green Court hours while participating and volunteering during the job fair. Please join me in welcoming the Alliance Opportunity Center as an official Northwest ISD partner in education. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. As one of the largest and most innovative companies in the state, Bell Helicopter is committed to supporting the local communities in which they work, live, and serve. Last fall, Chisholm Trail Middle School received a $1,000 check from Bell Helicopter to provide students of the school's after-school STEM program, Extreme, the opportunity to participate in America's Rocket Challenge. Bell Helicopter will also hopefully get involved as well in our NISD STEM Academy thanks to the involvement of CTE Director Celine Braswell. The partnership has really taken off. Join us tonight and welcome Bell Helicopter Representative and Engineer Jignesh Patel, NISD CTE Director Celine Braswell, and Chisholm Trail Middle School Principal Justin Vircher as we welcome Bell Helicopter to the NISD Partners in Education program. Finally tonight, although the City of Roanoke has been a partner in education for years, their support of our NISD campuses is an ongoing labor of love. From sponsoring T-shirts and hosting field trips to participating in career day activities, the City of Roanoke, the Roanoke Police Department, and the Roanoke Fire Department have been there for Roanoke Elementary and Principal Christy King. Please join me in welcoming our guest, Roanoke Mayor Scooter Garish, Roanoke Chief of Police, Gary Johnson, Roanoke Fire Chief, Mike Duncan, and Roanoke Elementary Principal, Christy King. Thank you for your continued partnership with Northwest ISD.
Excuse me.
And this concludes our recognition for this evening. Thank you.
All right, that will take us to item 8, public participation. This is an opportunity for the public to address the Board of Trustees on any matter, whether or not it is posted on the agenda. The Board of Trustees is not permitted to take action on or discuss any presentations made to the Board of Trustees at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The public can only speak during public participation or defer to a specific agenda item. The presentation is limited to 3 minutes. Persons must sign up and complete a request to speak form before the meeting begins and state their topic. So Mr. Schwartz? Mr. Schwartz, did I get that right? Okay, would you like to speak now or defer to a specific agenda item?
I want to speak specifically to the
Okay. Ms. Parker, would you like to speak now or defer to a specific agenda item? Okay. Mr. Patel, would you like to speak now or defer to a specific agenda item? And Mr. O'Connor, would you like to speak now or defer to a specific agenda item? Okay, thank you. All right, with that, we will move to item 9, consideration and possible regarding recommendation.
It should be termination, sorry.
Okay, consideration and possible recommendations of the superintendent to terminate the identified probationary contract teachers/employees at the end of the 2015-2016 school year pursuant to Northwest ISD Board of Trustees Policy DFAB Legal and Texas Education Code Section 21.103. Dr. Rue?
Yes, thank you. It's recommended that the Board of Trustees find the best interest of the district will be served by terminating the employment of the identified probationary contract teachers. It is further recommended that the President of the Board send the identified probationary contract teachers notice pursuant to Northwest ISD Board of Trustees Policy DFAB Legal and Section 21.103 of the Texas Education Code of the Board's decision to terminate his or her contract at the end of the 2015-2016 school year. This decision by the Board will be final and not appealable.
Mr. President.
Mr. Schluter?
I move to approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented concerning the proposal to terminate probationary contract teachers.
We have a motion from Mr. Schluter, a second from Dr. Simpson to approve the motion as read. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. With that, we move to item 10, consent agenda.
Mr. President,
Mrs. Holland.
I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
We have a motion by Mrs. Holland, a second by Mrs. Roush to approve the consent agenda as submitted. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Okay, now we move on to the discussion action portion. Item A, naming of Clara Love Elementary School Principal. Dr. Rue?
Yes, thank you. It is my honor to recommend to the Board Jamie McAllister as the position of principal at Clara Love Elementary. She is currently an assistant principal at Schluter Elementary in our district. Has a very strong instructional background. I know will add much value to the staff, students, and community at Clara Love Elementary.
Mr. President.
Mr. Fuller?
I move that we name Jamie McAllister as principal of Clara Love Elementary as recommended by the administration.
We have a motion by Mr. Fuller, a second by Mrs. Holland to approve Jamie McAllister as principal of Clara Love Elementary School as recommended by administration. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. All right. Item B, naming of K. Granger Elementary School Principal. Dr. Rue?
Yes, thank you. It is again my privilege to recommend one of Northwest ISD's current assistant principals in this role. My recommendation is Michelle McAdams as principal of Granger Elementary School. She also has a strong instructional leadership background, has served as assistant principal since 2014 at K. Granger Elementary, has a very strong background as an instructional specialist prior to that time.
Mrs. Cobb.
I move to name Michelle McAdams as principal of K. Granger Elementary School as recommended by administration.
We have a motion by Mrs. Kopp, a second by Dr. Simpson to approve Michelle McAdams as principal of K. Granger Elementary School as recommended by administration. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. We have two strong staff members who will be moving forward.
Okay, we will now move to item C, improve the attendance boundaries by rezoning portions of Peterson Elementary School to Hassel Elementary School, portions of Tidwell Middle School to Wilson Middle School, portions of Medlin Middle School to Pike Middle School, and portions of Byron Nelson High School to Northwest High School, while allowing for existing students to remain at their current schools as outlined by the criteria set forth here within. And at this time, I would like to ask Mr. Schwartz to please step to the podium and state your name and address. Yes, and just as a reminder, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Matt Schwalm, and I live at 1108 Berrydale Drive in Northlake, Texas. It's in the community of Canyon Falls off the 1171. You want my statement?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so I live in the Canyon Falls community, and we just moved here this past summer from out of state. And we just built a brand new house. And so the decision to build in that community with that builder, we made that based largely, or there's a good portion of our decision was based on the knowledge that they'd be going to Byron Nelson High School and Medlin Middle School. We paid a premium to build the house in this community. We could have built with the same builder, the same floor plan, same house, everything else in a different area, but we chose the community that we did specifically for those schools. I can't emphasize that decision, that factor enough. Let's see here. We felt that premium was justified. Furthermore, logistically, Pike and Northwest High School are almost twice as far away as Midland Middle School and Byron Nelson. So sending my kids to those schools, logistically, that would be a hardship for us and many of my neighbors and other people that fall in the same category. The Canyon Falls community is very fast growing. There's going to be several hundred, I think 1,700 homes total in the community. There's also plans that are underway. Development is underway for another community that's going to be across the street of the 1171 with another couple of hundred homes. So this area is developing very fast, rapidly growing. So I believe that rezoning will only prolong the inevitable of having to build more schools. My recommendation is to keep the school district boundaries intact and start making plans to build more schools. And if the district cannot handle the number of students in their boundaries and rezoning is absolutely required, I recommend allowing Argyle to annex the other side of the Canyon Falls community. They already have one side of the community. The community is split in two, and Argyle has one, Northwest ISD has the other side. So I'd say just let Argyle annex it. And Argyle is building a brand new middle school that is within the confines of our community. The middle school is going to be less than a half a mile away from our house. Like I said, if rezoning is inevitable and it's going to happen, I'd say give the rest of our community over to Argyle so the kids can go there. It'd be considerably closer. So that's my statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swan. I apologize for messing your name up earlier. All right, Ms. Parker, would you please step to the podium and state your name and address?
Christina Parker. I'm also on Berrydale Drive at 1100 Berrydale Drive in Canyon Falls. I guess I have a little speech. I would like to request a reconsideration in regards to the transfer of the students from Medlin and Byron Nelson to Pike and Northwest for residents within the existing portions of the Canyon Falls community. When we relocated to this area this past summer from Michigan, we chose the specific school that we wanted to live in, as many people do when they have children. Due to this school being one of the most important decisions that we made, we chose to build our home in the Canyon Falls community. We put ourselves in an apartment and transported our children for five months back and forth so they wouldn't have to change schools again after already making the major move from Michigan. This is not something that was easy for us to do, but due to the importance of keeping them in the schools that we wanted them in and to not have to go through the change again, we've made it work. Had we known we were going to have to change schools yet again after already making the move from Michigan, we would have looked elsewhere. This was a major decision-making factor for us. Pike and Northwest schools are an additional 3 miles from our home from where Medlin is. This is not a short distance when you're speaking of student participation, parent involvement, and then when it comes to sports and just active involvement at all within the schools. It's not going to be something that'll be easily done. I understand there are many more homes to be built. I propose drawing a new line to affect only the portions of Canyon Falls that are still under construction. This would have a very similar effect on what you're trying to accomplish while simultaneously not displacing current students from their school. Additionally, Canyon Falls is a fast-growing community, as we know. They are building a whole new community off the other side of 1171. One can assess with confidence that the new schools will be built in the coming years to accommodate the inevitable population growth. One could also assess these schools will be closer to the northern end of the district, near the 1171-377 area, where the higher population is anticipated. As a result, we can anticipate that children would be affected by this proposal again, if approved. If this is approved, and would be forced again to move in the coming years into the newly built schools. This scenario is not in any way beneficial to the children, and I hope that basically that you will vote no on this proposal and readdress the issue with a more sensible plan where the children don't have to be moved now and then again in years to come.
Thank you. Mr. Patel, would you please step to the podium and state your name and address?
Good evening. My name is Chatin Patel. I live at 1104 Berrydale Drive in Northlake, Texas. As all the parents are here expressing the same concern regarding rezoning of particular, in our case, Canyon Falls, I'll preface this by saying that it's understandable that change is needed in this district. It's obviously growing very fast. Communities are building, new homes are added all the time. At the same time, as has been stated, the need to change will continue displacing, in this case, in our area, a handful of students for the sake of changing, again, in the future, is something we'd like to avoid if at all possible. Understanding that people have made investments in homes, but more so than that, in choosing this particular district, I, as the two previous speakers, have relocated to Texas. But not only that, chosen a particular area that my daughter would go to Medlin Middle School and ultimately Byron Nelson High School. Beyond that, like I said, we understand change is inevitable, and we would like to see some latitude given, regarding this decision. The sheer number of children being displaced with all this is negligible compared to the the district-wide number of students. But we ask that you please remember that those kids and those students' lives are not negligible. It's important to them to stay where they are with their friends, with the teachers that they love, and want to see continuity in their education. And this is a great district, and we want to make sure that the kids see through to where they want to be. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor, would you please step to the podium and state your name and address?
My name is John O'Connor. I live at 7731 Valley Ridge Drive in Northlake, Texas. I'm also talking about the rezoning from Midland and Byron Nelson to Gene Pike and Northwest High School. Just like the other parents, when we moved here about 7-8 years ago, you had rezoned our neighborhood to Medlin. That was a big thing that got us into that neighborhood in Northridge Estates. Looking at the two schools, I'm a teacher. I'm in an overpopulated school. We're rated for 800. We have 1,100 in Flower Mound. I understand the need for rezoning. It's not an apples to apples rezone. It's a school that doesn't perform as well in any state testing. It's had higher sub-pops of economically disadvantaged and special needs. Again, I teach that, I understand, but I understand what that does for teachers in that classroom. And I moved here, my wife and I moved here into this district to get them into the best school that they can be in. And their education will not be the same at Medlin as it would for Gene Pike. Every school doesn't teach the same way, even if it has the same curriculum. There's a reason why one is overpopulated and the other is not. There's a reason why one is building faster than the other is not. Rezoning us now, I think, is a disservice to us and to our children. And a big issue I have also is this doesn't even fix the overpopulation for the middle school and the high school because it is such a small number of students. So why are you making the displacement if it doesn't fix your problem? So I ask that you relook at it. You don't rezone them right now. If you are going to rezone, at least rezone that fixes the problem. 60 kids, 40 kids, when you're 100 plus over doesn't make sense. If you're over, you're over. And I don't know of a parent or a student that would not rather be at an overcrowded, better performing school than to go to a lesser performing school with a smaller population. And I'm not trying to ding the other school. I've worked in both. I've worked in a lot rougher. They're great kids and there's great teachers there. I'm not trying to dispute that at Gene Pike and in Northwest. But the issue still remains the same. One performs better. One has higher test scores. And we moved here for that purpose. And if you do approve the rezoning, you're undercutting that from us. So I hope you will remake your decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rude?
Yes, thank you. Stepping forward to our podium is Tim McClure, District Architect Planner, who will share with the board the presentation regarding rezoning in Northwest ISD. Yes. Mr. McClure?
Thank you, Dr. Rue. Good evening, board. We're going to go back through the recommendation as presented at the last board meeting and the updates that we have gone through since then with the public forums, and then finalize with the recommendation again tonight. First and foremost, just kind of touching back through the process that we went through. The Tenants Boundary Committee process, we reviewed the demographic information. We identified the campuses that require relief. We developed options for boundary strategies. And then at that point, we engaged our principals of the affected campuses, and then we asked them to bring forward names of parents that could participate on a committee with us to resolve these issues. We reached out and invited the parents to participate on the Attendance Boundary Committee. We conducted 3 meetings for 3 weeks in a row with parents, principals, and administrative staff. And then we returned here on March 7th and returned an initial presentation to you that was the recommendation that came from that committee process. At that point, we then went out and had 4 public meetings held in the areas. So we'll kind of go through these things just step by step. Reviewing the demographic information, you're familiar with this. This is the, at the time that this was going on, we had the 3rd quarter report that was available. So that was the information that was reviewed. That's why you still see it up on the screen as sample slides. Since then, of course, you have received the 4th quarter update from Templeton, which actually increases the student population data that we're expecting. We reviewed the 10-year forecast and noting that the schools in yellow are over capacity, schools in green are within 5% of their capacity, and then schools in white are actually under capacity. And the same for the secondary campuses. Then with the committee, we reached items of consensus, which was Northwest ISD's focus. 1, to deliver curriculum in an effective manner. At the elementary levels, we know that's 1 to 22. At the higher secondary levels, we know that's 1 to 25. Second charge from the district's focus is to provide a safe and secure environment. We also identified and agreed that Northwest ISD is a fast growth district. The growth will be expected and continuous as we move forward. And then Northwest ISD exists to serve all students, that we look to try to minimize the attendance boundaries changes, and that we continuously forecast to stay ahead of the ever-growing development and population coming into our district. So capacity concerns that came forward out of those, Schluter was a concern that it was the increased capacity will happen this year, this next school year. It will be increased with the classroom wing addition. that will be open by mid-year for Schluter. So that is ongoing. Of course, you approved in the consent agenda the construction manager to take on that project. So we are moving ahead with that. Beck Elementary School had some moderate growth. That community, that area, and that side of the district is within about 10% of build out, and as the lots are diminishing. And then, so we thought that there'd be some minor changes to effectively lock down their attendance zone. Peterson, of course, the fastest growing school in our district. It has the highest density of students per home. That's about 0.8 per home, which our average at the elementary level is 0.4 across the district, so it's almost double the amount of yield of students that we're seeing there. And Peterson's concern obviously was estimated to exceed capacity by 75 plus students next year and continued growth for several years out. Medlin Middle School, currently over capacity and expected to exceed capacity by 100 plus students next year, with a continued growth of 50 plus students annually for the next several years. Tidwell Middle School, expected to exceed capacity by over 50 plus next year, with continued growth of 75 to 100 students annually for the next several years. And then Byron Nelson High School, currently over capacity and expected to exceed capacity by 200 next year, with a growth of 150 students annually for the next several years. We were asked to consider the driving routes from the south. It was specific to us, request to us, so we did some research on the drive times between the Harmon Ranch area development to Haslett, as well from what it would take to go from Tidwell to Wilson Middle School. So we reviewed those and presented those back to the committee. We also were asked to present apartment data for the committee. So we put that back. As you know, we have since started including that in our demographic updates, and you will continuously see that as we move forward from our demographic updates each quarter. Traditionally, apartments have not been something tracked out here. This is the first year we're starting to do that. Currently, the apartment population or multifamily population that is part of our student population is less than 4%. So right now, not a factor. That will start to change as we see more and more developers coming in with multifamily homes. One of the particular areas that really is intense right now for us in a growth pocket is that Peterson. We talked about it is the fastest growth rate in the district right now. And so we also looked at the map and discussed the actual concern of future lots coming in just in that southern area, mainly affecting the Nance and the Peterson boundary, ultimately when build-out is complete of this area. You can see 381 future homes. They're going into Waters Bend, 791 future homes into Berkshire, 371 future homes in the Harmon Ranch, and 163 future homes in the Tehama Bluffs region. And we also, during this process, there was a zoning request to the city of Fort Worth that came across my desk for that blue square that you see there in the middle between Harmon Ranch and Berkshire. They're requesting a zoning change. Not knowing the plat, but knowing what they requested a change for was multifamily, commercial, and single-family residence. Our best guess on the worst-end scenario is that could produce 2,000 more living units as a combination of multifamily and single-family. So you can see the density down in that area. That's just what's coming. That's not including what is already there. Is certainly a concern of ours. So then, once again, that recommendation was presented to you on March 7th. We then conducted 4 public forums. We tried to make sure that we did a public forum in each of the regions. We're dealing with a population in the north and dealing with a population in the south that are both primarily affected. And so we reached out and tried to do a public forum in the northern most convenient school located to the northern end. We felt that was Justin Elementary School is the closest proximity to North Lake community. And then we did our second meeting at Pike across the street from Northwest to once again provide options for any students or parents who would like to come tour those schools. So we gave them multiple options. Likewise, on the southern portion of the district, we did one public meeting at Peterson Elementary School, which is the actual school being affected, and as well at Haslett Elementary School, once again giving the opportunity for parents to and potential students to come tour that new elementary school. All 4 meetings were attended by the principals of the affected areas, Sometimes we had fine arts instructors there. We had other counselors. We certainly had our C&I departments represented there, and so plenty of staff there to answer any and all questions. We even had some transportation questions come up, and we had transportation represented at one of the meetings. So during the open forum comments, and of course we have shared those back with you as we had those comments come in, but this is kind of the high-level bullet points of what was out there and kind of where we were with answering the questions and responding. Transportation, questions regarding travel distances and travel time certainly came up and were discussed. Transportation questions regarding requesting busing for grandfathered kids. And we actually looked at the cost for that. That's the next bullet point there. Basically, if we were to grant that for 1 year for all grandfathered kids that affected in this scenario, would exceed around $140,000 for that year alone. There was also questions brought up for siblings and questions regarding grandfathering siblings of students and allowing younger siblings to continue to be grandfathered at the same campus. The concern there is with the older siblings, if they do continue to be grandfathered with older siblings, it prolongs the move for those siblings and could be extended for years to come depending on number of siblings. Student acclimation was certainly a concern that was addressed during these open forums. Requested information about equivalent curriculum, course selection, and extracurricular tryouts. Certainly had our curriculum folks, like I mentioned, we also had some fine arts teachers as well as counselors there. There was many times it was discussed, especially at the middle school level, that seemed to be the prominent level of concern. Dr. Ferris addressed, there's Dr. Ferris in the back, addressed their concerns. The middle school principals have worked diligently with one another, isolating those student requests from their campus selections as well as any tryouts that were taking place this year, and it was relayed back to those community members that all those things would be intact for any student that did get moved. So regardless of tryouts at one school, if you're moving the other, they were reserving spots for those type of scenarios. So I felt like we have done due diligence in coordinating that between the middle school campuses. And then, of course, the future growth. We've talked about it. You saw the slide a minute ago. You all sitting up there absolutely know we are a fast growth district. And that is going to continuously place a burden on us. We can't afford, unfortunately, to build schools and wait for the developments to come and populate those schools. So we do have to have some type of reactionary mode in order to make some shifts until the growth comes and we can begin to lock down boundaries. So we're actively seeking elementary sites in the southern area. We have, of course, the agenda item after this is the designation of a donated site in the northern area for an elementary school. And then the growth is consistent and changing, and I assure you appropriate planning is ongoing. It's something we look at weekly, and we work with the planning department, our demographers, as well as our land brokers to try to make sure we're staying ahead of the growth. So the recommendation at the time, adjustment of the boundary in the area that you see, the 36 students currently that are attending Medlin Middle School will be allowed to stay and continue to go to Medlin Middle School, and the rest of the boundary would then change.
What grade level are we talking about?
I'm sorry?
Grade level.
This would be current 6th, 7th, and current 6th and 7th, because 8th would go into the high school. Current 6th and 7th middle schoolers would be allowed to continue under a grandfathering clause at Medlin Middle School and continue on to Byron Nelson. Then also at the Byron Nelson, right below that, adjustment of the attendance boundary as shown to provide the option for grandfathering current 53 Byron Nelson High School students. That would include the incoming 8th grade class in that 53 to allow them to stay in Byron Nelson until graduation. Here are the projections before and after, showing you the relief and the lack thereof in some scenarios. We certainly still have situations at Byron Nelson and Medlin. In that northern area, the Harvest community as well as the Canyon Falls community, there is an anticipated future lots, 1,600 future lots between those two developments alone. That is a lot of homes. If you do your 0.4. That's 0.4 for elementary. It's a little bit less for secondary. 0.3 is about secondary. Still quite a bit of kids coming in as those lots get developed and built and sold. So there will be future demand there to relieve those two schools. Then you heard me mention earlier the Beck attendance zone we felt was really close to being able to be at capacity where we could lock down that zone. We certainly had an option to relocate the Roanoke Hills and Vineyard communities to Roanoke Elementary School outside of Beck. We felt like there would be some more needed change at Beck once the community reached 100% built out, and so we felt like we could hold off on that decision this time, and so no recommendation in that area. The Harmon Ranch development, the Peterson attendance boundary, the recommendation was to adjust the attendance boundary as shown, provide the option for grandfathering current fourth graders / incoming fifth graders, it's the same group, to remain their final year at Peterson under the grandfathering clause. And there's the current projections combined with the relief projections. That would tell you that we would need another elementary school in that area within the next 3 to 4 years, is what we're seeing there. And then the final area there was the same attendance boundary, the same area, adjusting for Tidwell, but allowing the current 7th graders, the incoming 8th grade class to Tidwell, to remain their final year at Tidwell under a grandfathering option if they so choose. And then once again, the projections there providing some immediate relief for Tidwell, but certainly not something that would be long stayed. So the final recommendation, adjust the boundaries. I'll read this. Adjust the attendance boundaries for Medlin Middle School as presented. Provide the option for grandfathering 36 current Medlin Middle School students to stay at Medlin and continue to Byron Nelson until graduation. Adjust the boundary for Byron Nelson High School as presented. Provide the option for grandfathering 53 current Byron Nelson High School students to stay at Byron Nelson High School until graduation. Adjust the boundary for Peterson Elementary School as presented. Provide the option for grandfathering current 4th graders / 5th incoming graders, 5th graders, to remain their final year at Peterson Elementary School, and adjust the attendance boundary for Tidwell Middle School as presented. Provide the option for grandfathering current 7th grade incoming 8th graders to remain their final year at Tidwell Middle School. Transportation will be provided to all students following their attendance boundary. Transportation for any students choosing to exercise the grandfathering clause will be the responsibility of the parents. Any questions?
Mr. Wright, I have a few questions. So one of the questions, I guess most of my questions are going to revolve around more of the high school side, primarily with the academies. And how do the academies, especially at Byron and Northwest, fit into the scenarios that you have as far as capacity of both of those, or I guess all 4 of those academies, and how does that fit in with these different projections?
The capacities of the academies are really kind of outstanding of these projections. We don't isolate it down to analyzing that we would be guessing that a certain population of this group would actually be involved in either of those academies. So there's no change. It's strictly following where they're scheduled to go or where they're currently attending.
Okay, I guess I wasn't clear. It is my fault. Where do the academies sit right now as far as full population or full growth at each one of those? Are we below capacity at some? Are we above capacity at others in each of those 4 different academies?
I'd be glad to share that, and I think Dr. Thornell as well. And the answer is yes. We are at capacity in our Biomedical Sciences Academy, if I'm remembering that correctly. We are at or near capacity in the Culinary Arts academy right now. We have room for growth in our aviation, in our entrepreneurship, and our STEM academies. We do have a report coming in later tonight on capacity within academies. I think Ms. Braswell is here, and she'll be sharing that report with you. But since students move within the district, right. So we may have many Byron Nelson students who are at either Eaton or Northwest and vice versa. But as far as the impact of the academies at Byron Nelson specifically, we have a very strong academy attendance there, which would not be changed by this.
So I'm looking at the projections with recommended changes for next year. We're looking at 2555, correct? On the projections with recommended changes at Byron?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So are the academies inside that?
Yes.
Or are the academies above that?
No, that is inclusive of the population of all attendees of that school,
okay,
regardless of academy or not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Have we pursued the logistics of what it would look like to put a main one bus stop in the affected neighborhoods, just to carry one bus load of kids whose parents would volunteer to either pull together or take them to that bus stop individually, or the kids would walk to it? It would just be one bus and one stop instead of multiple stops. Has that been something that we've studied?
Yeah, we've looked at the busing. Are you talking about specifically in the northern region or everywhere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's inclusive of that 140.
For the grandfathered kids that chose to go to the former school, they're
yes,
to be grandfathered.
That's inclusive of that $140,000 is the impact from the transportation side.
Even just to consolidate.
Yeah, okay. And that's the anticipated one for next year. Of course, busing routes and population of riders changes annually, so we would be too early to anticipate what that continued cost would be. So that's why we only showed it for next year.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, as a fast growth district, we look into our future and recognize where growth is coming, and you've shared that tonight with the different neighborhoods and the projected lots and housing there, and certainly understand the impact this has on individuals and their families, and there is no question that we recognize that for each of us individually as parents, our children are our most important priority, and we share that with you, and we recognize that this is a difficult situation.
I'm going to go ahead and make a statement. As I said before, this is probably the hardest decision we ever make, and it comes way too frequently. Mm-hmm. As Dr. Rue said, you know, it impacts families, and you feel sorry for that, but we strive to have a school district that is uniform. Every one of our 3 high schools, our comprehensive high school, our accelerated high school, we strive for excellence in all of those. Mm-hmm. So Northwest Independent School District is an outstanding school district, and every school that we have in this district is appreciated and outstanding. So with that, I would like to make a motion, Mr. President.
Were there any further comments?
I just wanted to comment. I certainly agree with Mr. Sluter and with Dr. Rue and everyone else, and this is very, very difficult. One of the things that I think would be helpful to communicate, a few meetings ago we kind of looked at build out and where schools would be if we were maximizing that build out, and I think that would help me and maybe folks in the community to understand, you know, how we can grow, how we have, you know, what are our options in growth, what's our potential here, and where do we see schools coming in the future, because I know that you're working diligently to get the land purchased and the buildings built, and I think as people are making decisions, you know, if I were to be a parent and anticipate, and I am living in one of those areas that is affected by that. And while I don't have children in school, I have grandchildren, and they are important. So I think to communicate this in terms of a backward design would be very, very helpful. And I know you're working on this, but I think it would help us all to be able to think about future directions and what are the next steps. And so I would just appreciate the work you've done, and I would appreciate that coming back.
Absolutely. In fact, we certainly can. And I do understand what you're asking and appreciate the perspective it offers us. As we look to our growth in the district, we have projected out we have 3 comprehensive high schools. We projected the additional 6 high schools that this district will have, and the general area of land that they'll be in. Each high school is accompanied by a minimum of 2 middle schools and 6 elementaries, and we can be specific about the regions that those fall into, and we can look at that. We can also anticipate, given up to a certain point, the growth within the district of those areas that are either platted or identified for future platting. And that does give us a fairly good projection into, with considerable reliability, into the 3 to 5 year range. It gives us a good look at what we will be as a district. Today we are 21,000 students. 11 years ago we were 7,000 students. 9 years from now we will be 33,000 students, and at some point this district will be 85 to 90,000 students. As a fast growth district, we will have future rezonings. And as communities build out and as our schools do grow and split into new schools and new communities, we will have then the luxury of having what I call a landlocked attendance zone that can look to not being rezoned in the future. But it is it's just simply a function and a recognition of a district that cares deeply about its children and the learning experiences they have. Our 234 square miles are bringing in many families, businesses, and area entrepreneurs to grow and develop within this area, and we will continue to have rezonings as we go. It will leave some areas landlocked as that movement and that wave moves across our district. But I thank you for being here tonight and sharing very real and deep and meaningful and personal concerns that each of you have, and look to our future and our growth and recognize that we must position ourselves and our capacity to manage our growth with a look to our future as well as a look to today and what that means to us to develop and lead the classrooms and the learning environments that we want for our kids.
Mr. Schluter?
Yes. Well, I just want to add one more thing. As we had a realtor luncheon not too long ago where Tim conveyed a lot of the same information so that they can get disseminated back out into the public. Because a lot of people don't know, especially those maybe on the northwest side, just how fast we are growing. So, Mr. President,
Mr. Schluter,
I move to approve the attendance boundaries changes by the rezoning portions of Peterson Elementary School to Haslett Elementary School, portions of Tidwell Middle School to Wilson Middle School, portions of Medlin Middle School to Pike Middle School, and portions of Byron Nelson High School to Northwest High School, while allowing for existing students to remain at their current schools as outlined by the criteria set forth here within as recommended by the administration.
We have a motion by Mr. Schluter.
Second.
A second by Mr. Fuller to approve the motion as read. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move to item D, Thompson donation deed deletion. Dr. Rue?
Yes, thank you. I'm pleased to turn the podium back to Mr. McClure, who will share with you the Thompson donation deed deletion. We still have the property coming our way. We have a deletion in an old agreement. Mr. McClure.
Thank you. So, kind of will address the next two, if it's allowable, next two, because they're in partners with one another. But the deed deletion is actually the document that formally deletes the donation of the existing Thompson property. It was never fully donated to us to own. It was donated at the time that we actually start construction. Then it would become our real property. So what this does is formally take that deed dedication back and off the books and deletes it from us receiving that property when we build a school there. It is done as a part and in conjunction with the next agenda item, which is the Thompson agreement, for moving that land so that it is now located within the harvest development. I would say this is one of those sample items that we've just, talking about previously with attendance boundaries. Sometimes you get a piece of property or you get a piece of property or own a piece of property and the development happens across the street as opposed to where you thought it might happen. Fortunately for us in this scenario, we had an incredible donor family that was willing to swap and let us move across the street to be a part of the harvest development. Same restrictions, basically the same outline of details that were in the original deed dedication. So one is just deleting the donation of the deed off of the county records, and the other is adding a new segment of land into the harvest development.
Board members?
Mr. Wright.
Mr. Fuller.
I move to approve the execution of the deletion of the donated deed as part of the development agreement between Thompson's, NISD, and Hillwood, and authorize the superintendent or his or her designee to take the necessary actions to execute the removal of the donated deed as recommended by the administration. Wow.
We have a motion by Mr. Fuller, a second by Mrs. Roush to approve the motion as read. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item E, Harvest Development Agreement. Dr. Rue?
Yes, and this is the other half of the plan. So, Mr. McClure, if you would, please.
Yeah, as stated before, kind of have to talk about them both, but this is the second part. This is them donating a new piece of land as part of the harvest development in conjunction with the deletion of the deed for the land they'd already donated to us.
Mrs. Kopp?
I move to approve the execution of the development agreement between Thompson, NISD, and Hillwood, and authorize the superintendent or her designee to take the necessary actions to execute the development agreement as recommended by the administration.
Motion by Mrs. Kopp, a second by Mrs. Holland to approve the motion as read. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Item F, RFP number 016-021-02-022, Student Transportation Services. Dr. Rue?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Bashoon is here to share that with you as our Director of Purchasing and Outsourced Operations. He will share with us the RFP for this proposal.
President Wright, members of the board, Dr. Rue. The first one I'd like to talk about is Student Transportation Services RFP. Current services are being provided by Durham School Services. In 2001, Northwest ISD began utilizing contracted services or outsourcing for the student transportation. 2011 was the last time we went out for proposals, and at that time, the Board of Trustees awarded a 5-year agreement renewed annually to Durham School Services. 5 years has passed. 2016, it's time to do another bid. Some things have changed since 2011 to 2016 with the district. One being the number of routes. In 2011, when it was bid out, there were 98 routes. Now there's 150 routes and growing. Some of the goals of the RFP, one is to reflect the change in the scope and the size of the district that's happened since 2011. We want to continue with the 2-tier bus schedule. We also want to provide Northwest ISD with a current fleet standard to meet the needs of the district at 150 routes and growing. Also to establish a contract that with the framework to accommodate the district and its growth. And importantly, to establish some performance measures for a number of drivers, so we have drivers for every bus, and on-time performance, that they are meeting, our kids are getting to school on time. RFP 162102-022 was for transportation services was issued February 25th. We had a pre-bid meeting here at the admin building on the 7th of March. The RFP closed on the 22nd of March. District administration has been evaluating the responses and received, scoring them against the criteria and the weights that were listed in the RFP. Currently, clarification of terms and conditions are being conducted. A recommendation for award will be brought to the April 25th Board of Trustees meeting. The end result of this will be a contract established for Northwest so that our students are safely delivered to school on time. With that, open it for discussion.
Board members? Thank you. With that, we will move to item G, RFP number 016-021-02-016 School Nutrition Programs Food Service Management Company. Dr. Ruth?
Yes, and Mr. Bashoon will share that with us as well. And you do see we have our outsourced operations manager here. We also have Ms. Miller and others. I would introduce you if I could remember here from Aramark. So, Mr. Bashoon?
Kind of at the same time, another large RFP, food service management. Current services are being provided by Aramark Educational Services. In 2011 was the last time Northwest ISD went out and solicited proposals, and the Board of Trustees awarded a 5-year agreement, which is the maximum, to Aramark Educational Services. It's 2016. It's time to do another bid. We are required to do a bid every 5 years. TDA, Texas Department of Agriculture Food and Nutrition Division, is the governing body for the school nutrition program. SFAs, which are school food authorities and school districts, are required to solicit every 5 years, as I mentioned. RFP templates are available typically in November timeframe. They were late this year, but the template is available from TDA, which includes the necessary information and requirements that are required to include in an RFP that goes out for food service management companies. Information that's included in the RFP is proposed budget, menus, 21 days worth of menus, projected enrollment, projected participation, current levels of staffing, and other information. Once the RFP template is filled out and developed, that still has to be approved by TDA before you can even advertise. We've already gone through that step, and we were able to advertise. It also stipulates that the RFP must be sent to pre-approved food service management companies. There's a list of them, and you have to send it to every one of them, and really no one else. The RFP 162102-16 was advertised and released February 22nd. Pre-bid meeting was held on the 7th of March, where we had companies were allowed to ask questions, and they attended walkthroughs. We did guided tours of 3 campuses, an elementary, a middle school, and a high school. And the RFP closed on the 23rd of March. At this point, responses again are being tabulated by NISD administrators. We'll score them against the criteria and weights that were published in the RFP. The recommendation will be brought forth at the 25th of April board meeting. The agreement also has to be, the agreement that was included in the RFP also does have to be approved by TDA before we can sign the contract, but those can be done simultaneously.
Great.
Board members?
How many companies, are you at liberty to expose how many companies bid?
More than one. More than one.
I have a question. Would you be presenting the scoring criteria along with your selection on the April 25th meeting?
Yes, that will be included in the recommendation.
Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Rishun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good news. Item H, amend the 2016-17 academic calendar. Dr. Root?
Yes, thank you. We have an opportunity to revise that calendar in a way that I think will be very pleasing to our community. Mrs. Nail, if you'd like to share.
Yes, if you will recall that the legislature in this past legislative session passed House Bill 2610, which requires school districts to meet a minimum of 75,600 minutes for the school year. Since the adoption of the 2016-17 calendar, which you did in February, we have received additional information from TEA that they released following the adoption, that school districts who had already requested waivers for early release days, that they were going to continue to honor those through 2018 if you had made that request. In 2015, we had made a request for 6 early release days, so our early release days do not expire until 2017. So we have one more year those days. What this did is it allowed us to add 180 minutes to each one of our early release days. Our early release days were 240 minutes, so we were able to add the 180 minutes, which made it a 420-minute day, which is required by the Texas Education Code, 25.082. With that gave us an additional 1,280 minutes for the school year, so that now you have the opportunity, if you would like, to reduce the number of minutes by reducing the number of days in the school year. And so what we have for you is a proposed calendar, which actually ends the school year on May 26th. That's the Friday before Memorial Day, instead of that first Thursday in the first week of June. With that will give us a total of 76,000 minutes, which is 400 minutes over the 75,600 that are required. It also includes your 3 bad weather days, which are not included in that number of minutes. That's in addition to that. And what we did have to make some adjustments in the calendar as far as when the bad weather day would occur, because we actually had a bad weather on that Friday of May 26th. So we took the staff development day that was on February 17th, and we moved it to March 20th and made that a bad weather day, which now gives our students, if we do not have to use that March 20th day, they would actually have a 6-day spring break that they would be able to take advantage of, and it becomes a staff development bad weather makeup day. So that helped us. We still have those 3 bad weather days in the calendar. The other adjustments we made had to do with the teacher work days. We moved the Friday of August, I think it's August the 19th. Trying to see it from here. I'm sorry. The 15th, 12th.
The 12th.
Okay, we moved from August. We had a work day on August 19th, and we moved it up to August the 12th. And then we also scheduled a work day on May 30th, which would be the day following Memorial Day. Generally, when we have work days after the last day of school, if teachers have all their work done, at that time they're not required to come in on that May 30th. So that's another option for them. This still allows them to be able to flex out of the 2 Thanksgiving days, as well as they could earn flex time for Good Friday, pending that we do not have to use that day for a bad weather makeup day. So in essence, they would have to earn 18 hours of staff development in order to flex out of those. And then October the 10th, they would need to earn 6 hours or have 6 hours of parent-teacher conferences that they have completed in order to take October 10th as a flex day, I guess what we would call it. The other item I wanted to share with you, this by reducing the calendar year, this provides for 173 instructional days, which on the previous calendar we were 175, so that reduces the calendar actual days by 2. 12 staff development days and 2 work days, which allows us now to reduce our teacher work days from 189 to 187. And we are recommending doing this without any impact to their current salary. Their salary would remain the same for 187 days. Yeah. We feel like that would be a big benefit to our staff. Yes.
Question. First, I noticed that the most important day is left off May 31st on the calendar.
Oh,
it's a
sorry
very
about that.
important day. Just make sure that you have that date.
We will
listed.
get that one on there. We won't be going anywhere, but we'll have it on there.
I know. But as far as the STAR testing after March, when does the staff development day on the 20th, does that affect, is it right before the STAR testing? Is it that week?
It is right before STAR testing. I believe the STAR testing starts the following week.
So the week of the 27th?
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at, I don't know if anyone's in here that can answer that question for us or not.
But I do know there was a review of STAR testing dates against this calendar.
We did look at that, and I believe it's that last week in March.
All right. I was just hoping it didn't hit exactly on the 21st for the kids to be back. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just make sure May 31st you have that.
I'll get that on there.
And I will point out that this brings our teacher days of contract in line with our surrounding districts.
Mr. Fuller?
I move to approve the amendment to the 2016-17 academic school calendar as recommended by the administration.
Motion by Mr. Fuller, second by Ms. Scott to approve the amendment to the 2016-2017 academic school calendar as recommended by the administration. All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
I would like to just add one thing. TEA is still discussing the types of waivers that they will require in the future. So as far as any new waivers for early release days or for staff development or bad weather days, makeup days, we still do not know what those are or what we will be able to apply for, if any.
Thank you, Ms. Snell.
No go.
All right, that will take us to our report section. Report A is CTE Academy Capacity Study Report. Dr. Rue?
Yes, thank you. And we are pleased to invite Ms. Braswell to the podium to share the capacity study report with our academies. Quite a lot of good news going on in academies in Northwest ISD.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm so excited to be able to present our overview and our capacity study. We started this in October, looking at the actual capacity study before we went through applications so that we could see where we needed to have additional growth. First, just a little bit of an overview for CTE as a whole. We have currently 4,470 students enrolled in career and technical education right now. We offer more than 100 courses in CTE. I believe the last count was 104. We have 14 career pathways and 8 academies. The 8th academy, obviously, with the aviation starting in the fall. Now, these 8 academies fall within the 14 pathways that we offer. We have 70% of high school students enrolled in CTE. Our goal is obviously to grow in those areas. One of the reasons we are offering more robust pathways and opportunities for our students, we would like to see students take a 4-year program within our CTE. The final thing, this is kind of where we're working off of, is we do great work, not good work, but great work. We want to make sure that we play to win, and we're not just winning our competitions, but we're trying to win our children's hearts so that they become customers for life. So that's kind of the foundation of our program as we move forward. You'll notice in the overall enrollment, if you look at the pie that's there, we see agriculture at 17%. It is our largest enrollment. It's holding steady. We offer a lot of different certification programs within ag science, and the community definitely has supported that. In health science, you notice the 16%. That includes the Academy of Biomedical Sciences. So what we do is our pathways are grouped in, all of our academies group into the pathway. Same with business management, that includes the Business Academy. Arts and AV, obviously that is our AMAT Academy. So doing great work. We're really excited. You'll see that certification account. As of last Tuesday, it was 640, but as of this morning, it was 726. So we made a little progress over the weekend. We're very excited about that. We have quite a few goals that we've established with this. Our students are receiving certifications in soft skills, Microsoft. This is the first year that we've ever offered Microsoft to our students. As of today, we have 3 Microsoft Masters. That means that they have received the industry standards for not only Word, Excel, PowerPoint. They've also gone above and beyond and done Expert, OneNote, and they're self-taught on many of these programs, and they've chosen to take on that initiative. 3 of them, one of them is a freshman, so we're very excited about that, and he's very proud of what he's done in the program. We are offering OSHA, CPR, Vet Tech, Floral. Each day we are adding additional certifications and licensures and these stackable certifications for our students. The pictures that I actually have displayed here, the reason some of them are so important for us, if you'll notice on the left-hand side, that young lady that's there, she will be the first ever Texas State Floral Level 2 certificate earner, I guess you could say. She submitted her portfolio to the TSFA. They offered it. This is the first year, and no other student in the state of Texas chose to take them up on it. So she was actually recognized that as the Texas State Floral president standing with her, and they're very excited about what she is going to be doing. As well, Miss Terry will be a Texas Master Florist after this year, and she's pursuing additional certifications for herself. The AHLEI, this is the first time we've ever had a student receive this. It takes over 500 hours to receive this certification of documented work within the hospitality area, and our partnership with Deloitte allowed that to occur. And then you'll see the young men and women by the helicopter, the EMT program. There is not another EMT program like this in the area that doesn't rely on a community college to help oversee it. We actually have our own program director, which allows us to do a lot more for our students to be able to get certain site-based opportunities. We're not competing with the community colleges. And then the young lady with the certifications, like I said, first year for Microsoft, first year for Adobe, and every day we see great work coming from them. Play to win. This is not just in the competitions, but our students are achieving at such a high level. You do see the state champions. Those are just as of 2016. So these students are all competing at nationals. Culinary will begin April 29th through May 1st. They'll be competing for national championship at the Gaylord Texan. We encourage you to come on out and cheer for them. The students in the far left hand, they are back-to-back state champions in the Future Business Leaders of America, and so they will be going to Atlanta to represent us in the summer. If you notice in the top right hand, the young lady in the red, that is Maria Galvan. She is our District 3 President for Skills USA and oversees 9,000 students in this area. She just won the state championship at Skills USA. She will be competing in Louisville, Kentucky. She is what I like to say homegrown. She is K-12, Northwest ISD, Roanoke, Medlin, Northwest, and Steele Accelerated High School. She is in the Collegiate Academy as well as the Cosmetology Academy and hopes to become a doctor, but she says cutting hair will help her get through med school. So very excited for these young men and women. I think we have 6 that qualified for state over the weekend, so we've had a busy time. Right. So to get into the capacity study and some of the questions that even you were asking a while ago, one of the things when we look at students who are applying for our academies, we do have some that obviously are zoned for certain areas, and I'll give you a few figures that aren't a part of this report. Currently, 11% of our students who applied for the biomedical and culinary academies and were accepted, and then actually accepted their acceptance, only 11% were not zoned for Byron Nelson. Most of the students that are attending that are Medlin students, Tidwell students that are zoned for that area. 21% of the students who applied at STEM and at AMAT were zoned for Byron Nelson or Eaton, and 19% of the students who have enrolled for BME and Academy, the Aviation Academy, were zoned for either Byron or Northwest. So just to give you a little bit of roundabout figures, they kind of offset each other quite a bit. Mm-hmm. This academy, the Academy of Biomedical Sciences, we completed our national accreditation with Project Lead the Way. So they have come in and given their seal of approval that we are one of the best, which means that we can begin articulation agreements with dual enrollment. We have had the HOSA organization. This is the first year that we've had students in quite a while to actually compete, and they will be going to state this weekend in Galveston. We now, obviously, with the Howard Youth Medical Institute, we have had the neuron transmitting partnership, so we'll have actual classes. Our students are coming in on Saturdays, and there's 37 of them working in that program currently just because they want to do it. And so it's very exciting for us. And if you notice, it's 60% lab-based curriculum. A normal science class is required to be 40%. We are 60% in this curriculum, so you can go in on just about any given day, and students are doing hands-on lab-based work. Our biomedical innovations, one of our students was working in the ER the other day and actually got to hold a lady's head while they trach tubed her and was a part of that. We've had students that are really getting immersed into the programs. 8 of our partners showed up at our certification program, and they were very proud of the work that our students are doing. And one of the gentlemen with the Medical Center Alliance said this was the first group he's ever worked with that students not only genuinely wanted to learn what they were doing, but they had such a high level of ability by the time they got to him. He didn't have to do a lot of the entry-level work. It was a very reassuring conversation, and we're excited about this partnership. Sorry. The Academy of Media Arts and Technology, this is one of our extremely popular programs. We wish that we could offer it to more students. Because of the size and scope of our area, obviously only so many students can be a part of TV and film. It is a large commitment, and that is one of their favorites. So we added the animation, advanced commercial photography. All of those courses now have taken on a new life. Our partnership with the Alliance Airport and the Air Show, we've already been asked back for next year. They utilize some of our actual photographs and footage in some of their commercials, and they won a national award on some of the stuff that our students shot. Cooksey has asked us to come in and help with advertising, so we're constantly being sought out. We are the best television show. They do a live show every day. If you want to come and see it, it's fabulous. And they did win second in the nation for Man on the Street, which is a really quick report that they have to do in the middle of Atlanta, and something they've never met anybody, and they have to create their own story, and they had like 3 minutes to spare, but it was great when they won. Some of the industry partnerships that are happening for us allow our students to have such a robust portfolio that they're actually going into their post-secondary opportunities, and they're being put right to work. We had a student who went to Oklahoma and is now running the Jumbotron at the football games at OU. So.
Oh, and I do want to point out before you, as you go through these, I don't remember hearing it, but you may have, the return on investment per WADA on these students, that is significant for the district, that we are receiving CTE dollars above the base cost for those students.
Absolutely. As we highlight each one of these programs, you will see that ROI based on WADA. So based on our current, if you'll notice, we do have an enrollment model, but we also have to utilize contact hours. So some of our students choose to take more than one course, or they'll take 2 periods in a double block. So we utilize those contact hours to form this model, and we choose to go through it's based on the 180 calendar day. There's a beautiful formula that we have. But nonetheless, if you look on the left-hand side, the ROI for this, for AMAT, they generate $469,000. That is $121,000 above a regular ed class. And then once you take that money and then you disperse it about how much our program costs, plus we look at the salaries for the 4 staff members that it takes to run that program, we still, even above that, are generating enough money to cover the entire program cost. So that's happening in each one of ours. I'll go back really quick. Thank you, Dr. Rue, for pointing that out. On the Academy of Biomedical Sciences, we are at 126% capacity this year because we had such a great desire for this program, so we're having to add a 3rd teacher. But even within that, we are seeing a large number of students. Those hours that they're accumulating will generate additional money. And this does not include the 2 class periods that we are adding for the Janella Institute. We have not added that into the model, although we will receive CTE funding for it because of how we've Teams coded that program. Also in the Academy of Business of Management and Entrepreneurship, we are just now First 2 years, really proud of where we're going. TCU, the Neely School, has actually invited our students. They were the only ones last week to actually be at a values and ventures program, and so they were actually able to meet with people from Notre Dame and Harvard, and they were venture capitalists, and they were working with all of our students. It was a wonderful opportunity, but the dean at TCU has been so impressed with our program that they are looking to endorse our students so that we can look at some fast tracking for our students to get automatic acceptance. Midwestern State University, UNT, Alabama, all of those colleges have come to our students and have seen the work they're doing. We have partnerships now with Mercedes, quite a few people that are wanting to really jump on board. They're very proud of the Business Academy because there's not another one like this in the state of Texas. With that being said, the program has grown immensely. We had probably our highest request for this program because of the unique nature. We've had, if you notice right now, even with, we only have 2 teachers technically that are instructing. Still, we're generating $440,000 for the district, and $115,000 above. It did not cost us that in that salary staff, and also for our actual equipment, consumables, if you will. First year, we've offered DECA in quite a few years, and we had 16 students go to state in DECA. And then, obviously, we have the VEI, which tonight was their presentation, their practice. The group that's finishing at Byron will be going to the Nationals the 16th through the 20th, and we're excited about that transfer over into the Business Academy. Also, the students, if you, on your report that I gave you, you'll see kind of a profile of a business student and what that would look like. Those students are averaging anywhere from 5 to 8 professional certifications. We have students already who've achieved 8 this year. They are doing it even on their own time, working in the industry. Academy of Cosmetology. 100 students is all we can take for this program with just 2 instructors, and that is set by the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. It's not something that we can circumvent. They definitely monitor everything that we do. We have currently 100% pass rate. We're very proud of that. We had 10 young ladies and gentlemen actually test their first round this weekend. They'll do their hands-on in May, and then we'll be able to move them back in. We've added a few additional stackable credentials with facials, hair braiding, esthetician endorsements. The beauty industry has so many other options that are available to young men and women as they enter this profession, and it's continually growing, and if they can go to a full-service salon, it makes them much more employable. The Academy of Culinary Arts and Hospitality, we are seeing it's overwhelming how much great work is coming out of this program. The express acceptance to the Culinary Institute of America last year generated almost $500,000 in scholarships for our students. But what they've done is it's a very strenuous process to get into CIA. They are so impressed with our program that our students no longer have to submit a portfolio. They actually come to us, and they express certify them in our bistro and check their skills there and move them right in. We've already had 3 that have accepted this year. El Centro, obviously the 17 hours of free college tuition and certificate. There are a lot of people that are looking at this model, and they're curious how they can make that work. We've got a 4-time state champions for Pro Start. We've just had another national qualifier for Skills USA, and she's a sophomore. We are overly impressed with what she's going to do this year at Nationals. The bistro is operating at a high level of efficiency. Last year, our bistro generated almost $80,000 in additional instructional money for their program. They work to do more for their students. We have all of the certifications, ServSafe, Food Handlers, Pro Start, HLEI. They all require an enormous amount of time commitment from our students, but we offer those to every one of our children free of charge. Collegiate Academy, we saw a massive growth this year. We're at 62% enrollment increase going into the 16-17 school year. And so now with our students really latching on with the opportunity for cosmetology and for an associate's degree at the same time, that's been a very good sell for us. But we are seeing more and more students receiving college hours. They should estimate to graduate with a minimum of 42 collegiate hours instead of the 30, which was the original plan. And finally, our STEM Academy, we have seen an increased enrollment this year. We grew by about 12%. The STEM Academy is a school within a school model, which is a very difficult program when you look at the fact that they share the English, the math, the science. But we have changed our engineering curriculum for the 16-17 school year to reflect Project Lead the Way. Not only is it nationally accredited, but it is monitored by Project Lead the Way, and it has a very robust professional development system for our teachers. They will each go to 2 weeks of training, 80 hours, must pass a test before we can offer those programs. And then we will have EOCs attached to each one of these. Currently with PLTW and the Biomed, we are at 85% pass rate on our EOCs with a 7 or higher, which is really good for us. We are anticipating the same type of success in our STEM program. This will give us a more robust curriculum, and it also allows us to offer courses like computer integrated manufacturing, aerospace engineering 2, an additional advanced robotics class, as well as civil engineering and architecture, which we have not been able to offer at the level that we would like. The students here, this year, we're still doing Systems Go, so they'll be launching their rockets. They've presented to NASA. They've presented to literally rocket scientists. So as we move forward, we're very excited about how Fredericksburg will turn out for us this year in the 1 pound, 1 mile challenge. We have one of the things in areas that we're focusing on here, obviously, we have a return on investment with 4 CTE teachers, and we are hoping that this program continues to grow and we'll be able to add more staff in the future. I would entertain any questions you may have about the presentation or the report.
We're so proud of our academies. I want to thank you also for showcasing some of the exhibits at our local, at the recent Friends of the Foundation luncheons. I think it's been great for the public to see those.
Thank you.
On the return on investments, is that primarily from corporate partnerships? Is that where that's coming from?
No, ma'am.
Or from
what it is we generate, all of our funds that are generated are based on the WADA. Mm-hmm. When we look at our weighted average daily attendance, that is for a student in a regular ed class, it's $1. For CTE students, we get $1.35. So this year, based on our estimated enrollment, we have so many what they call FTEs. Within those FTEs, we generate, right now we're estimated on a 63.8% attendance rate, or 68.3 attendance rate. We have $6.3 million we'll generate for the district. And so we utilize each one of those dollars, 58% of that is utilized for actually paying for all the teachers' salaries, our consumables, any program, anything that we need to buy for equipment, any of that is all out of the funds we generate for the district.
Fantastic.
I really don't have a question. Mine's more of a statement, just that I really think that, with the foundation that Mr. Neely set ahead of time, really, I don't know if it set you up or if it provided a launching pad for you, but where you've taken this is incredible, and we do appreciate it. I think in the different presentations that I've seen around the state, people are talking about what Northwest is doing, so I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hey, that was a great picture. Good picture.
Yeah, I'd like to second Mr. Fuller's thoughts. That's just pretty amazing. Are there any further comments, board members, questions?
It's a great program.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Ms. Braswell.
Yes.
Or is it Dr. Braswell? Did I get that wrong?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. It will be.
Four courses.
All right. Report B, February Financial Investment Report. Dr. Root?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Graswich is here to share this report with the board.
We're catching up from, we'll have to do the February this time, and we'll do March next time. This is the monthly financial report. Me and Deanne are the investment officers for the district. We had $307 million invested at a 0.444% rate of return. We have now actually been able to do some diversification. Rates have come up, and we've got 23% in treasuries and 4% in Fannie Mae. We're buying agencies and bullets. We have the maturity schedule is in there. We have pretty heavily invested out at 6 to 12 months with 39%, $121 million. And the last 2 months, we have exceeded our parameters. In the financial, we had $177,000 in interest earnings for $372,000 year to date. I would mention also the financial statements are attached. One thing that's kind of interesting on that area is we now are spending about $10 million a month on payroll.
On what?
Payroll.
On payroll.
Payroll.
Yeah, the annual payroll is about, the monthly payroll now runs about $10 million. I remember when it was only $5 million, and I remember also when it was probably about $2 million.
Well,
So
the district is a personnel heavy project.
Yeah.
We, as you know, that's in every district. We're going to put our money is where people are.
But it's interesting just to see how the district has grown just on that one area of activity. It shows up in a lot of other areas, as Mr. McClure might elaborate on. But just in the payroll department alone, you suddenly realize you're processing twice the payroll you used to process at one time. Be happy to answer any questions on the financial report or investments.
Board members, any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Grasswitch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Yeah, go ahead.
And with that, we will move to item 13, consider any items removed from the consent agenda. There were none. Item 14, Board President's Report. There's a North Texas Area Association of School Board meetings April 20th at 6:30. It's at Colleyville Heritage High School. Inspire celebration will be April 21st at 6 p.m. at the Texas Motor Speedway. Art show will be April 25th, 26th, and 28th here at 6 p.m. at the Administration Building. Northwest ISD night with the Texas Rangers, I believe they're playing the Yankees, will be April 27th, 7 p.m. at Globe Life Park. Northwest Reads will be April 29th. Education Foundation Gala will be April 30th at 6 p.m. at Circle R Ranch. As a reminder, please let Jennifer know which events you plan to attend. With that, we'll move to Superintendent's Report. Dr. Rick?
Well, I just want to thank all of you for your work tonight and congratulate our culinary arts program as they move on to a national competition. And I would invite you to look at your calendar for May the 6th as a reschedule, and it will be after their event, and we very well may enjoy a meal by a national culinary arts program. If nothing else, it will be the state of Texas representative for culinary arts. So we're very, very proud of them.